So,
all right, here we are, the Idiot Circle again for episode 2, impromptu episode 2. I'm Mike.
I'm Fred.
I'm Rob.
Okay, you see we're in different windows because we joined at different times. How cool is that? I mean, Fred's holding down the middle here. We're on the top. I don't know what to say. It just
doesn't sound very good.
No.
But I just want to let you know
didn't
before
come out quite like I expected.
Right. It's not. That's not how I envisioning it can come out. Well, since you guys, just ridicule me so bad for from the episode 1, I just thought I'd let you guys know.
We did.
There we
Booze
go.
Latte.
That's a
Bud Light.
It's a Bud Light.
It's a Bud Latte.
Yeah, it's a Bud Latte.
Bud Latte.
So,
peer pressure.
So we got some viewers on our episode 1. We got about 105 more viewers than I thought we were going to get.
Right.
So cool.
What's wrong with you people?
Yeah, I know. Nothing.
You have no lives? What the hell? There has to be something better to do.
Well, here's the best thing. This is right around this time of the year where everything's reruns, and they just want to try to find something new. And we're providing it, especially when we start talking about our old hometown. A lot of those people are from our old hometown, and they want to reminisce. They like to hear about, talk about the old days. So it's not too bad.
And Fred and I look just like reruns, so that's cool.
That's right. I dance like them too.
Let's see it, Fred. Come on, can you do it for the
camera? Come on, give us a little show. Show the fans.
Show the fans,
guys. I am one strong fart away from being a quadriplegic. So
no. Ouch. Ouch. Yes, that hurts. That hurts.
Oh.
So yeah, Fred, good job on the Facebook Lives, getting the shout out. That was a good job. I think we had like 2 views before you did that, so that's good. Good promotion, man.
Awesome.
So we're learning as we go. Obviously, this I've never done anything like this before. So Rob, you had the cigar radio show, right? So you have some experience. So Rob's the old pro, but he's technically challenged. We had to actually get him up and running on Zoom. He's a Teams guy, he said. He's only a Teams player.
Teams.
So he only uses Microsoft. Ouch. Geez. And we've only been dealing with COVID for almost 2 years now. And Rob hasn't figured out how to use Zoom. So we got that going for us. So Jesus. What an appropriate name for this group, the Idiot Circle.
I was just going to say, we're living up to our name, Mike. What else you want?
I don't know.
I hear you on that one.
I can't expect too much out of this crew. That's for damn sure. Wow. So guys, this is impromptu. We don't even have topics to discuss. So who wants
I got topics.
Oh, you got topics?
Oh, I got topics.
All right. Well, we didn't talk about them. I like this. Cool. Throw this out, Rob. Let's start us off. What do we got today?
All right. The first one I'm going to throw out is you guys haven't heard it before. And I know it's going to incite some of you Michigan fans a little bit.
Oh, shit.
My time... says, oh shit. No, my first topic is, so all that great public awareness that Harbaugh did, taking a lower salary and then going ahead and donating it, has he wiped that all out in the last couple of months by not coming out, making a statement and saying, I'm not going to the NFL or I'm going to the NFL?
I don't know. I'm losing faith in them for sure. I mean, you come off of the high from the clobbering of Ohio State,
super high, right?
The total demolition of Iowa, and then getting demolished. So now it's just been downhill after the Big Ten championship for me. I mean, I don't understand what he's doing. I mean, if he's this is what it's doing is hurting recruiting. It's hurting guys that are on the team right now. We just talked about on Sunday, the transfer portal. How many guys are going to jump ship if Harbaugh decides to go to the NFL? I think there will be some fallout for sure. He should come out and say, come on, this is ridiculous. This happens every year. I'm not interested in going to the NFL. Why is he even entertaining offers? I don't get it.
He was doing so good, Mike. I mean, this last 6 months, 7 months, I don't think anybody in college football stock was higher than Jim Harbaugh. I mean, you had the traditional guys with Saban and some of the guys that have been there, but he was kind of, rebuilt himself up to that stature. And I'm not saying he's wiped it all clean yet, but if you're one of his players, you got to be questioning his motives right now and what he's doing.
I think so.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm at the point where, yeah, you know, he's like the Clash. Should I stay or should I go? And at this point, I just
Nice analogy.
Yeah, I just don't care anymore. And the reason why I don't care is the fact that, everybody's all worried about him leaving. Well, everybody wanted him to leave last year. Said he's done. He hasn't done anything. And, and again, this goes to show you how much, especially fans, true fans, have always stuck by him. But then you get the bandwagoners, they disappear, and then when they start winning, all of a sudden now they're back to being Michigan fans. My thing is yes, he took the pay cut. I thought it was a classy move by him, taking his bonus and spreading his wealth throughout the athletic department due to the COVID situation. Sure. But I also think the fact that this is his way of sticking it back at Ward Manuel, who to me is probably one of the worst athletic directors in the country, in my opinion, because he's more of a yes man. But the fact is this is a way to stick back, because this to me can be also be a ploy for him to, to have another. I know he has a contract sitting on his desk waiting for Jim, but you know what? If he's really desperate, he might rip up the contract and add more money. And then finally Jim says, well, I'll take that. And then he wasn't going to leave anyway. He's using it as a ploy.
Yeah, but Fred, has he leveraged trying, if that's his ploy, if that's what he's trying to do to get another contract, a bigger contract, has he leveraged that to get a bigger contract with maybe his team? The team is, you hear these guys talk about all the time. Brian Kelly talked about it, and you mentioned in the last week's show, Mike, that he bolted in the middle of the night, and the people that were hurt most were his team, because they found out on a text message or in social media, which decimated his he burned a fence, or he burned a bridge at Notre Dame, and that's not something you want to do. Is Harbaugh leveraging that? I mean, he could get more money, but now his players might not play as hard for him going into this next year as they did last year.
Well, yeah. Well, here's one thing. Okay. He's accomplished. I mean, he's had winning records. I get that, yep. But they haven't been to
traditional powers,
traditional rivals, to our standards. I mean, yeah.
The idiot circle standards, because
he cannot.
They're pretty low. The idiot circle standards.
They cannot beat Michigan State. They beat Ohio State handily, but how long did that take?
Yeah, but nobody was beating Ohio State. So
well, I understand that, but the fact of the matter is,
Bama was the only one beating Ohio State.
But Bama's not in the Big
Ten. They're not in the Big Ten.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So the simple thing is did going into the playoff this year and getting decimated like they did by Georgia, did that kind of clue him in, like, hey, I had a great year. I got all these great players, but I'm never going to get the players like they got. And the Big Ten is going to maybe on a whim or on a prayer or something. Maybe
he brings up a good point, Mike. Do you agree with that?
He might just say, you know what, we're never going to win it, so I'm just going to jump ship and just say, hey, I went out on a high note.
Mike, can you actually think that could have the mindset as the Michigan Wolverine, a Michigan man that you cannot recruit at the same level as Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson? That can't even be in your thought process.
It can't be, and if it is, honestly, I don't know what the hell's going through the guy's head. And that's the stupidest part. After all that he accomplished this year, which he totally redeemed himself, a Dumb and Dumber quote, right? Yeah. So he totally redeemed himself, right? And now everybody's questioning him again. So how long did that take? Like 2 months, and now everybody's back in not even a month and a half, and everybody's back on, Harbaugh doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Or he needs to come out. If he was, the guy's got a ton of money, no question, and he'll get a ton of money wherever he goes. So what is going through his head?
Could it be money motivated?
If Michigan, I know he probably is, but if Michigan isn't Jim Harbaugh's dream job, what is? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, here's a good question too. Which team has a better situation? University of Michigan or the Minnesota Vikings?
Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah. Minnesota Vikings is a dumpster fire. Now, the only other team that I could see Harbaugh possibly going to is Miami, but because of the warm weather and everything. But again, he calls this his dream job. But remember, when he was at Stanford, he was pretty harsh about Michigan and their standards. And then all of a sudden now he comes here and then, we're going to live up to our standards. Like, okay, just a couple of years ago, you were saying that, our standards are ridiculous. Well, the simple fact is this: I don't care if he stays or not. I know we're not going to be hiring anybody like a Brady Hoke ever again. I can tell you that. God, sorry I even mentioned his name.
We're even wearing headsets. He never learned to wear a headset.
Well, yeah. Well, so I mean, viable candidates. So you got Matt Rule from the Carolina Panthers. You got Matt Campbell from Iowa State. You have PJ Fleck in Minnesota.
He just signed an extension, though.
But again,
that doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
But
the other thing is too,
it's a big buyout.
If he wants to start getting some of these kids, if he's going to stay in Michigan and he's going to say, look, we're going to win a national championship, somehow you have to work in the NIL with that. Say, hey, look,
you know what, Fred? Those who stay will be champions. I'm sure I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, somebody said that.
And that's the thing. It's you speak out one side of your mouth and then the other side's saying something completely different.
Fred, at one
those
time
who stay will be champions, just not national champions.
Yeah, Big Ten.
Yeah.
Well, listen, let me ask you this, because Fred hit on a good point one time when we were talking, and we had a great.
There's a shocker.
That's all right. Well, there was a lot of bush lattes involved, but we had a great discussion after that, which was, okay, what was Harbaugh's turning point? Was it trouble with the snap? Was it the bad call in Ohio State? He came into that organization like a gangbuster. He was doing those feature camps down in the SEC territory, riling up other coaches, going out and took some kid to a prom in San Francisco. I don't know, some crazy crap.
Climbed a tree.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he lost the fire. Fred says it was the call in Ohio State. Some I've heard say it was trouble with the snap.
Well, which one came first?
Trouble with the snap.
Trouble with the snap.
Okay.
But
I mean, I think it was again, Ohio State fourth down.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah.
That's a Michigan State person that coined that. And just to show how stupid they are, nothing was wrong with the snap. The snap was right there. It was trouble with the idiot punter.
Right. Yeah, trouble with the catch.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, right.
That's the way it should have been.
But you also look at the fact that I also mentioned over the years he had all these coaches that were a little long in the tooth, and to me, Jim started acting like the guys from the Progressive commercial.
It's like
becoming your parents.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing he was missing was his ARP card and a cane, and saying, "Hey, referee, good call."
Yeah,
But the thing is,
did you just change the blade on this slicer? He's doing
but see,
that.
the thing I'm talking about is the fact is, okay, he rearranges his whole coaching staff, much younger, and all of a sudden, boom, he's revigorated all the way, like he's like back to it, like he just got the job like before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, these kids started they would run through a brick wall for him. But now you finally get your kids the way you want, and then now you want to jump to the NFL. First of all, why would you want to coach a bunch of prima donnas when you can mold some of these kids and develop these kids, at the college level? You see a lot of college coaches that go to the NFL. They're horrible. I mean, Nick Saban was horrible.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer.
Pete Carroll's first time.
Chip Kelly was awful.
And awful again, then awful again.
Yeah.
And then awfully. He just keeps getting awful.
Yeah, still awful.
Still awful.
So the thing is you start looking at those things and you're like going, where are you better
finding
suited?
Awful.
Where are you better suited, Jim? Are you better suited in the NFL or the college game? And to me, I think he's better in the college game. But if he wants to go to the pros, let him. I mean, we'll find somebody to replace him. We'll live to see another day. And I don't need to. And again, the one thing I will say this until I take a dirt nap. I don't need a Michigan man. I need someone that's going to motivate kids and actually win games.
Right. Going across the state though, and not to take off this topic and jump on, but I had one more topic that I wanted to share, and then we'll get to some of yours. Michigan State, right? So we know the dismal of Michigan State in our lifetime. They were absolutely putrid and horrible for a long time. They were good in 1968 with Duffy Doherty, but that was really, I mean, hell, Freddie, we were born in 68. Mm-hmm. So we never saw that greatness. Then along comes D'Antonio, who really, he's kind of like Stafford for me. He got there, he was quiet, didn't bitch how they couldn't recruit 4-star and 5-stars. He just built a program over time. My question, should Mel Tucker, or for matter, any coach that comes in at Michigan State, be now held to the same standards that D'Antonio created, which was in his first 7 years, he won the Big Ten 3 times?
Well, I mean, I think the person that he should thank is Mike Hart. I said it again. I mean, did he give them such a motivation? It's unbelievable. Like, big brother is gonna, kick little brother around, or whatever the hell he said, this stupid ass thing he said. But what kind of motivation did that bulletin board material the rest of D'Antonio's tenure, and they played with a chip on their shoulder from that point on. And it was, honestly, they devastated Michigan from that point on. The stupidest thing ever.
And still really are.
Yeah, they still have a chip on their shoulder. Mel Tucker's got them playing with the chip on their shoulder. That's one thing I respect about the Michigan State team. I mean, they've been doing great. I mean, Mel Tucker didn't do good this year, obviously, but
last year.
Sorry, this year.
Yeah, he did okay this year.
Did okay, yeah. But I mean,
no ranked teams except for Michigan.
If Michigan's coaches could fire up their team like that, I mean, Michigan State came to play. They didn't care who they were playing. They came to play because of that chip on their shoulder. So I think any coach should be held to the standard of whatever the best coach that university's ever had. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, to me, you're going backwards if the coach that comes in to coach Alabama isn't expected to do what Saban did or is doing still when he leaves. What's the point? I mean,
who's going to follow that up?
Well, you have to. I mean,
he's got a plethora of head coaches working underneath him. Hey, if you can't beat him, join him. So as Robbie's question about Mel Tucker is, in my opinion, is, at some point, people have to understand that Tucker did not get to recruit his first year there because obviously D'Antonio left late. So, I give him a pass for the first year, and then this past, then he didn't do very well. But then there was the COVID year. But then what he did and what made him, relevant again, or made Michigan State relevant again, is not only did he beat Michigan State with Rocky Lombardi, beat Michigan with Rocky Lombardi, which was a complete embarrassment. Exactly. And then the next year, he goes out and gets 22 guys out of the transfer portal, which all 22 of those guys start, and makes himself relevant and makes the Michigan State game probably one of the most viewed games of the year. And again, Michigan can't beat them, but Robbie and I spoke earlier and said, hey, Mel Tucker's only beat two ranked teams in the last 2 years, and it's been Michigan, and that's
in the bowl.
And then Pitt in the bowl, but without Kenny Pickett, and they didn't have Kenneth Walker. Now, so I look at it this way. From this point on, because he had a good year this year, there is no question that they're expecting bigger and better things from him and be at D'Antonio's level and moving forward. Those first couple of years, like the first year they said, it's a wash. We'll kind of go from there and build from there. But from this point on, because he brought those guys in and they had such a good year, there is a lot of expectations, especially the fact that his name was being thrown around for the LSU job at some point during the year.
Hey, Mike, do you think okay, so I agree with Fred in some aspects here. COVID year, I give it to him because he did come in late. But again, that still was a Michigan State problem. They blamed everything on D'Antonio leaving the cupboards dry, and he stayed on to get that extra bonus money that he was owed. That's why he didn't retire. They could have gone to him at any time and made him a deal to step down
Sure.
with money, and
Yeah.
then they could have their new coach in place for recruiting. But they chose not to.
It's a total cop out on their part, right?
Well,
Right.
first of all, the other thing is too, what Michigan State that was wrong. I mean, they had the whole Nassar thing going on, and I think there was a deterrent for a lot of coaches around the country to come here and coach. One, two, how they let D'Antonio go was incorrect. They should have said, "Hey, we're going to let you stay on for a year, and we want you to help us find your successor." And they said,
Should
"No."
have.
They should have done that, but they said,
Yeah.
"Nope, we'll figure it out ourselves." What ended up happening is they had a bunch of coaches that said no, they didn't want to come and coach there. They did not want to be there with all the culture and the crap that was going on. Not to mention the fact that even the Ferris State coach was off for the job and he said no. They finally found Mel Tucker, whose best record in his coaching career has been 5-9 at Colorado, and they had to offer him an exuberant amount of money for him to come and say yes.
Well, not at first.
For them though,
Then it was big.
They went all in on him, and luckily they hit the river card, So
Well, I don't know if they've hit the river card. He's going to be tested.
In their
we'll
aspect,
see.
In their aspect,
they
did.
They think they've hit the river card. I'm not sure. I mean, they had a weak Big Ten schedule, so we'll see where they go. But when you say they couldn't hire a coach, right? And I agree with you, they couldn't hire a real valid coach. Now, when other coaches see what that university did to D'Antonio, a guy that built your program, no matter if it went downhill in the last couple of years, he took you to another level that nobody could ever dream Michigan State in football could get to. That was a basketball school. Now that those premier coaches see what they did to D'Antonio, Mike, why would any great coach, good coach, want to go there if they know that's how they're going to be treated?
That's exactly right.
I understand that, but you made the point about, D'Antonio should have stayed on to help select the next coach. What happened with Lloyd Carr when he left? He kind of left him hanging and high and dry. Why didn't Michigan do the same thing with Lloyd Carr? And why is nobody talking about the doctor at Michigan that sexually abused all those students? I mean, what's the difference with Michigan State? Why is Michigan? I mean, it's getting some coverage, but nowhere near what the coverage was with Michigan State. Why is that? I mean, that's total bullshit too, if you ask me.
Good point.
Oh,
so,
it is a good point. It is
a good point. Yeah.
But again, you mentioned about the Lloyd Carr thing. They had a successor, and it was supposed to be Les Miles, but Lloyd Carr went to the board and said, do not, and I repeat, you do not have him come here. And Lloyd Carr obviously knew that Les Miles had an affair with Gary Muller's wife. And that's when Gary got all drunked up and he lost a job. And that's how Lloyd got the head coaching job. Okay. The fact is Lloyd said that, and he even told some kids. I mean, I have a kid that I know who was a possibility to go there and play football. And he was planning on going there. And Lloyd Carr said, do not go there. You have a perfect opportunity down at Cincinnati. Go there. And then we're stuck with Rich Rod. And of course, it didn't help that Kurt Herbstreit.
My God, he brought up Rich Rod again. Episode, 2 episodes and 2 Rich Rod. We're not supposed to say that name.
Well, you brought him up the first time. I didn't.
I didn't bring him up.
Well, I didn't.
Hey, Fred, are you too deep yet on Bud Lights? We got to get you going here.
Come on,
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Come on, Fred.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm high on life, baby.
So I think we answered. Did we answer your question, Rob? I mean, did we?
Listen, I think we all agree. Correct me if I'm wrong. He should be held to a standard of the prior coach. But just when did that start? I say right away, because when D'Antonio got here, he was taken over for, I think, John L. Smith. It was just a decimated program. No one gave him any time. They just said, go out and win. I kind of agree with Fred, but I still say, look, in 7 years, if this guy hasn't really brought you to the standards that you want, he gets over $9 million a year. On his contract.
I mean, you should give him the same amount of time that D'Antonio had to get to the level D'Antonio was at. But I stick with my blanket statement that any coach should be expected to do what the previous best coach of the, otherwise why are you doing it? Why are you having a guy come in? If they can't be expected to do that, they're in the wrong job. I mean,
Lloyd did it with Bo. Lloyd,
right.
you know, whatever you say
So did
about
Notre
Lloyd
Dame bringing
Carr,
Jerry Faust in.
Well, listen, Brian Kelly held up to almost the standards of
Parseghian.
Holtz and Parseghian. But listen, I do believe, Mike, that you have to, if you want to be a football school, if you want to be known as a football school, once you have that benchmark, then you're right. You have to have all coaches meet that standard.
Fair enough. All right, so I was reading through some of the comments on some of our Facebook posts. I think it was on Fred's Facebook post that and I forget who commented, but they said that I drew the route wrong for the idiot circle. I mean, I've lived in Marine City a long time. That's the route I always took. I didn't do hey, I grew up a Catholic, okay? I would never dream of doing a U-turn in front of a church. Come on. First of all, an illegal activity in front of a church. I never would have done it. So my route was always Bridge Street, turning onto Market Street, turning on Union Street, left back onto Water Street. That's the way I took religiously, pun intended. So what was the right route? Did I draw it wrong is the first question.
I think you did, because you know what? The way we used to do it, how I did it, the way you drew it, you never stopped your flow, right? You weren't stopping, doing a Y turn or backing up. Your flow just kept going, right? It was just like this. It was almost like a figure eight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to, you talking about the arrows with breaks in them. I wanted to show the street names and stuff. Otherwise I would have done a continuous thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike, that you don't have that CAD program.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get out my 3D CAD drawing and do a
model
of the
3D
damn
around,
idiot circle, complete with my Mustang GT driving around, and
Yeah, well, let's look at it this way. I know that there's multiple people are going to say multiple things. One, I'd say the majority is what Mike did. Go down South Water, turn down, go on Market Street, come back up Union, get back onto Water Street. There are people who pulled down to the church and did a Y turn, not a U turn, but a Y turn. Sometimes it was because they were meeting somebody there to chat, talk up, meet up and say, hey, where's the party at? Okay, and then backing out and going. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some people just to change some things.
Just for the record, the people that did that probably also back into parking spaces, which drives me absolutely bananas. Okay, so
right. So the other one is they would go all the way straight down to the end of Water Street and go back behind Holy Cross and then come back up and go around.
Which
I mean, some people did that just to change it up.
Nobody did that.
Well, that's not true. I know somebody who drove a gremlin. Names won't be mentioned, but the last name rhymes with DeConnell.
Well, I mean,
yeah. And then of course,
did.
and then you go to the long route that, they go over the bridge, go through the other side of town, come back around, and then they stick back around. I mean, everybody did a little bit, but the 99% of the people who cruise the idiot circle, Mike, you drew it correctly. The true person that said that
the true idiot,
the true idiots did it that way.
The person who said that you drew it wrong is incorrect. Now, mind you, he is much older than we are. He might have had a different route back then.
Well, it's Dave, right? Dave Heslop?
It's Dave Heslop. That's Jim and Tommy's dad.
Listen, half the time we were all liquored up anyway. So,
right.
That's why I didn't want to.
We definitely weren't driving straight lines most of the time. That's
no.
So
yeah, especially when we were swerving and switching lanes.
Yeah, my kids will never watch this episode, or any episode. So I'm not afraid for them to hear that. They know their dad.
One day, Mike
was a bit of a drinker.
I have to tell you this story of us playing chase and through the Washington Cemetery, and Fred and I hit one of the oldest tombstones in this for another episode. We'll tease that someday, but it's awesome. It's just a great story.
But you were telling me about a barrier at Terhune's.
Yeah.
Tell us that this is a good one, Fred. He told me this earlier today.
So I used to drive my dad's old car. He gave it to me, a 1972 Cutlass Supreme. And it was in its day nice
Nice car.
in 72, 73.
Yeah.
Then it turned like, a little bit, it was silver, and then a little gray spray paint got on there, and then some Bondo.
Nice.
We had some issues. Grill got bashed out. So my dad is a welder, welded another
even
grill.
nicer car now, in my opinion. But
just a nicer car. Well, I'm cruising the idiot circle, and a lot of times what you don't have on there, Terhune's auto dealership was right there on the corner, and sometimes we'd cut through there to make the quick turn.
That's true.
Well, I did the cut through, and I almost hit Eddie Terhune and an old lady customer, and he pulled me over. And he was reading me the riot act. He even called my parents.
So.
He said
what
to
are you
my
drinking?
parents,
well, yes, I am.
Well, yeah, I probably had a Moosehead, because we used to drink Moosehead beer. I probably had a Moosehead beer in my, in my.
Rob, are you drinking? Why are you buying?
Yeah.
Are you on dope?
Need some more. Yeah.
Like, give me some.
And so he told my dad, that I was doing 35 when I went through that parking lot.
No, nobody would. Total, not an idiot for sure. I can't say idiot, because an idiot cruising the idiot circle knows it's like 5 miles an hour through town, or you're totally uncool. I mean, everybody knew that.
Well, eventually what ended up happening is Addison Terhune, which is Eddie and Andy's father, was sick and tired of people pulling in there. So then they put a chain link across
they did.
That's why
Yeah. Ironically, 1 week after I did my fateful
and now you have the rest of the story.
God, that was so. You know what? I was thinking about this the other day, because I haven't really thought about the idiot circle and cruising. I loved it, man. I don't care what they said about us. I loved it. I had a good time.
Who didn't love it? I mean, it was awesome. I mean,
I love the fact that everybody thought, oh, hey, Port Huron, they got a good cruising area up there. I'm like, yeah, guess what? It's not Marine City.
Port Huron was fun, though. I remember going up there a few times, and that was it was a good change of pace to get to get some different people that you see up there. And it was a different vibe for sure, because it was
but you know what the funny thing is, if you start from Algonac to Port Huron and Marine City are the only ones that have a downtown that you can actually really cruise.
That's true.
Algonac, nah. St. Clair, they don't even have a downtown. They think they have a downtown, but they didn't have the cruising.
They have a mall.
Yeah,
I mean, you could, but
Marysville
would have been a drag.
Marysville doesn't even have a downtown. So the thing is, it was kind of cool. You could switch it up a little bit. But I think what I loved about the idiot circle of motion when cruising is, people were always on the side of the road, and everybody was waving. You could see everybody. It was cool. And the best thing is, especially, as it was starting to get dark and you were starting to cruise, and you see those freighters going by, and it's, you got the windows down, you're cranking out some rock music. You got some Motley Crue and some Dokken.
I think Fred's getting a tear in his eye.
He is.
I mean,
what I liked about it too.
I don't get a tear in my eye, but I can tell you now, it's a nostalgic time in my life, and it's something I always remember. I mean, be it a car full of people, have two people, being by yourself, just catching up with some people. It's kind of cool. Sometimes you'd see somebody, hey, pull over, okay. And they jump in your car and you cruise around, see a little bit, drop them off, and then just keep going.
Yeah, you guys remember, like, you see a girl driving. You didn't have to like her, but a girl was coming that you knew the other way. We would always try to scare them and go into their lane and play chicken until we pulled back into our lane.
Yeah, I would never do something like that. Yeah, I would never. I don't play with vehicles, okay, Rob? I mean, no. I mean, that's dangerous stuff.
Come on, Rob. Hands at 10 and 2.
Yeah, 10 and 2. Everybody knows that. 10 and 2. And they put the heated steering wheel is even heated at the bottom. I mean, the manufacturers now that have the heated steering wheel, it's at the bottom and the top. So it's no longer 10 and 2. The world's gone nuts. So
Right.
I don't know what to do. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Freddie, what do you got?
You know, I was just thinking
Well, let me
about.
ask you a quick question.
Sure,
This
lay it
might
on me.
get something going. Mayonnaise or Miracle Whip?
Oh my God, here we go.
Mayonnaise.
Well, I
I know what
grew
Fred's gonna say. I already know what Fred's
I
gonna
grew
say.
up with Miracle Whip, but found out that what I thought was Miracle Whip, it was actually Hellman's in my grandma's tuna fish. So
There you
but
go.
yeah, so I guess if I was gonna ask you guys a question is coming
He's gonna
uh,
eat some. There you
uh,
go. That's my boy. That's my boy. That's a true Hellman's guy. I love
It's
it.
all mayonnaise, baby.
Hey, if I had some in my hotel room, I'd be joining you in solidarity, but I just don't. They don't have mayo here in the fridge. What kind of it's Ohio, okay? So
Oh
that
well.
explains everything.
Yeah.
so kind of going off of sports and stuff like that. Let me ask you guys: is there
They have Spellman's. It's like Hellman's, but
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Has there been a moment in your life that you met somebody famous and you had it would be that that you have that awe moment where you just didn't know what to say? Because it was brought up the other day. I was actually listening today, driving up to work. I'm at the north end of Port Huron, and they were talking about where they got shuffled through. They went to a concert. They went and saw Megadeth, and if you bought the CD, you got to meet Dave Mustaine.
Cool.
And Gator said that he said, yeah, might as well. I'll get that because I would love to meet him. And he said he panicked all the way through to meet him. And at the time, the bass player from White Lion was playing with them because they didn't have the bass player. And he said he didn't know what to say. The first question goes, "Hey, do you think you guys will mix any White Lion songs in?" He goes, "Well, hey, don't let him know that because he'll kick your ass." I mean, he's like, I didn't even know what to say. It's kind of like Ralphie when he's like, "Hey, little boy, what do you want for Christmas?" And he's just standing there staring.
Yeah.
So is there anybody
Starstruck.
that you met that you were completely starstruck, didn't know what to say, or you felt like the question you asked was completely stupid?
Well, I didn't. I met someone. Now I can't say I met him. Okay, but it's a cool story nonetheless. But I wasn't starstruck because there wasn't really any. Well, I was, but there wasn't any opportunity to talk to him. But anyway, so my buddy Chris and I went out to this concert that was a Graham Parsons tribute concert, and it was actually there was one in Los Angeles and one in Santa Barbara, and we were doing the website for it. And they flew us out there, the people that the marketing company that Chris was working with. So they flew us out and gave us tickets to both shows. And we got to go backstage and stuff. And they had huge names. They had like Dwight Yoakam was on the show, Nora
Nice.
Jones on the show, some big names on there doing the tribute to Graham Parsons. Well, we're standing backstage, kind of in the hallway, and just hanging out and having a beer out in the hallway. And there's a door for the outside that was just down from the hallway from where we were at. And the door come, busting open. I think it was in Santa Barbara, if I remember correctly. And the light was just, blinding because it was so bright outside. So we couldn't see who was coming through the door at the time until he got like right up to us. It was Keith Richards walking down the hallway right between us. He puts his arm out and kind of gives Chris a tap on the shoulder and says, "Hey, how you doing?" and just keeps walking. And we were like, that was Keith Richards. We couldn't believe it. But so we didn't get to talk to him or anything, but I was definitely in awe of Keith Richards at that point. If he asked me something, I wouldn't have known what to say. Definitely, because we were like totally flipped out. There was even Keith Richards. I mean,
Wow, that's awesome.
So
How about
that's
you,
the
Rob?
most famous person.
Well, I living in California for a long time, you see a lot of famous people out. You and I don't really get starstruck by anybody. Not, I'm sure there'd be someone I would meet that I could probably starstruck me, but No, but I lived in Santa Barbara for almost a year and a half. And on State Street, you used to see a lot of people on there all the time. So I saw Marcus Allen on the strip one time. I saw at State and A, which was a bar that we used to go there. Karch Karai used to hang out there, and they did their
Nice.
fantasy team there. And Dan Fouts, whose daughter was going to school at UC Santa Barbara, would go in there with her and have dinner from time to time. So he was in there. But I was just telling Karen Schweihofer this story that when when I first moved to California, I worked for a company called Thermco, and me and a bunch of buddies, we're all single guys, except for my neighbor that lived across the street. He was married, but he would go with us, and we would rent a limo for the night, and we'd go someplace to see a concert. We'd go see anybody that came in town, everybody from Motley Crue to Warrant to whoever. So we were in the Wiltern Theater, which is a very small Hollywood little venue. And it was for our second time to see Andrew Dice Clay. We saw him at another theater like years before, and then this time we were going to see him, or a year before, we were going to see him at this Wiltern. Well, it's in the middle of Hollywood, so you can imagine like Billy Idol. You heard him ride his motorcycle into the lobby area. He came in. Sylvester Stallone, I don't know if they were on a date, but they sat near us. He was with Cher, and we were sitting in a row, and there was the whole row in front of us was open, and it was getting close to showtime. And we were wondering what's going on with, who's going to sit right in front of us. Like we thought maybe we'll jump in those seats because we're all packed in there. Then finally a couple guys started straggling in, and I wasn't paying attention. The music's playing. It was pretty cool. And my buddy who lived across the street and married, he elbows me and goes, "Hey, that guy in front of you, isn't that guy from that group you like?" Robert, his name Robert Martinez, a little bit older than me. I'm like looking, and I'm looking again, tattoos, long hair. I'm like, then all of a sudden, as the music's playing, he starts doing this.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like,
Axl Rose.
Yeah. So we took a limo there. So all these concerts we go to, we're all liquored up all the time. So
No.
I'm liquored up. Yeah.
No,
Can you imagine that? So I jump over the seat and I grab his arm and I said, "Dude, I love your music." And I'm sure I was spitting all over him. And he looks at me and he takes his arm and he goes like this. And I'm like, "Man, I really like your music." And he stands up, walks out to the aisle and starts walking up. Well, I'm so drunk. I'm like, and I had a drink in my hand. I'm like, "Everybody, that's Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses, and he's a dick." And he's walking up, looking at me. And I sit down, and I'm sitting there for a minute, and this lady taps me on the shoulder, and I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Was that really Axl Rose?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "What did you say to him?" I said, "I told him I liked his music." And she goes, "Huh, what a dick." And I sit back down. My buddy Robert goes, "That's Grace Slick from Jefferson."
Oh, geez. Are you
Oh my
kidding? Double whammy.
And we thought we're like, "Oh man, Guns N' Roses are going to be right in front of us. They're going to have hot chicks and these skeezy looking trailer park hoes that they sat with." Of course, like every once in a while, someone come up, take a flash of them, that aisle. And then who was the drummer? Tommy Aldridge?
No, it was
Steven
Adler.
Adler.
That's it.
Yeah.
Adler. Then Axl didn't sit in front of me. He sat like down, and Adler sat in front of me. And this is before I think he went through he was a drug addict, but not where he was. And actually after the concert, he turned around and he signed a couple autographs for people, not us, but he was pretty good. But that's like my big
Nice.
Meet somebody, and it didn't go too well for me, but I wasn't asked to leave.
Well, that's
No,
good.
that's a good
that's
thing.
a bonus. First time for
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Freddie boy?
Well, Mine, I kind of had two of them. My sister was living in Chicago. She was modeling out there, and I was at UAD playing baseball, and sometimes on the weekends I'd go down to the city airport, and for like $80 I could fly over to Chicago and hang out for the weekend. So we went out there, and she had you know, she would show me around and stuff like that. And we were going shopping, and I was trying to find a pair of shoes. And me trying to find a pair of shoes in a store is not the easiest thing to do. But, I'm trying these shoes on, and all of a sudden I get a tap on my shoulder, and he goes, "Hey, what size shoe do you wear?" And I turn around, and it's Brian Dennehy.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
kitty.
And I'm
You
like,
should have said Tommy Boy.
Tommy
well,
Boy's
this is
dead.
before Tommy Boy. This is
Oh,
like
wow.
just maybe probably in between Tommy Boy and Cocoon. We're talking 91, 92.
Oh yeah.
So, so we're, he and I just start talking and stuff like that. And Leslie's like, "What the heck? You're just talking to this guy like it's nothing." And then I said, "Oh, by the way, I know who you are." And I pulled my eyelid down like he did in Cocoon. He was like, "I like that." So that was one, but the biggest one where I really couldn't say anything. Went to the Stanley Cup playoff game, Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings. And my brother-in-law at the time had a suite up at there. He was promoting, and he was working with Dino Cicerelli. So Dino was in our suite that night. But before the game started, I kind of just, because it's kind of crowded and stuff, I just came out with a beer and was standing out there, and all of a sudden, coming down the hallway, here comes Mario Lemieux.
Super Mario.
Yeah, and I'm like, "How you doing? How you doing? Good, good." And next guy comes by. It's Darren Pang. He's one of the announcers. Little short guy. He was a goalie back in the day. The funny part was the next guy that came in was Ty Domi.
Oh,
and
Another short guy.
Yeah, and I looked at him, and he's like, "Look at me." He's like, I said, "What are you doing here?"
Don't mess with him.
He goes,
Oh,
he goes, "What do you care? You want to go?" And he winked at me, smiling, and he gave me a hug, and he said, "I said, well, hey, enjoy the game." He said, "You too." And he walks away. It couldn't have been 2 seconds later. I turn around. It's like the product, God and the right hand coming down the hallway. Here comes Gordie Howe and Ted Lindsay.
Holy
wow.
shit.
And I'm walking, and I'm standing there, and I'm like frozen. I don't even know what to do. I stand up straight, and jersey on. And
did you piss yourself?
Well, I should probably should. Well, maybe if I had a few more of these, but it was early.
You did,
but,
I'm sure.
Yeah, whatever. So Ted Lindsay looks at me, goes, "How you doing, son?" I go, "Good, Mr. Lindsay." He goes, "That's Ted." He goes, "Thank you for coming." And I go, "Ted, it was a pleasure meeting you." And Mr. Howe, it's a pleasure meeting you too. And he goes, "No, it's my pleasure, son. Go Red Wings." And they start walking. It was like it was like really surreal. And the goosebumps on my arms and stuff was just crazy. And then I ran into the suite like I was a kid at Christmas time, going, guess what? Guess who I met? And I'm like, oh my God. It was one of those moments that I had I was completely starstruck.
Mike, I can confer he gets like that. He and I go to a Red Wing game 2 years ago.
Come on.
And
you're gonna bring that shit up.
Really good
You're a dick.
And all of a sudden I see him. You know how he gets when something's going on, you don't know. He's starting to move like this really fast. Pants. He's got like ants in his pants. And I'm like, what's going on, Fred? And he's like, that's Sophia. That's Sophia Bush. I watch her on Chicago. It's Sophia Bush. She's like 2 seats in front of us. I say this, and he denies it, but he's like, Sophia. He's trying to get her attention. Of course, she's not having it.
It's not her.
Well, no, it's her.
Oh, okay.
But she's trying to ignore people, and it looked like she was on a date with some guy because it was some guy.
I think she was there I think she was there to see somebody she knew that played for the New Jersey Devils.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happened, like they have like the press team for the LCA come around. Sometimes if they find famous people, they'll try to get them up into a suite or a booth and do like a clip or a PSA. And they kept coming down to bug her and she didn't want to do it. And I'm like, you guys, they come out here not to be harassed. And they're never going to come back here if you just keep harassing her.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that
he was all giddy. He was,
sorry.
Yeah.
But hey, I disagree with the way he said that. I was saying Sophia, when she walked down the aisle, I said, "Hi, Sophia," and she turned
and he licked his eyebrow.
Yeah, right. She turned and looked and she smiled and just kept walking. I'm like, yeah. So immediately I texted my daughter Taylor and Caitlin and told them, and they're I'm
so dating Sophia Bush.
Yeah, no. Hey, no.
All right. So, well, I think that's a good stopping point. Let's end on a good note.
Right.
Yeah, we're so that's episode 2. We just kind of winged it tonight. And hopefully people watch it and get a kick out of it. If you like what you see, obviously you can subscribe on YouTube. We'll be posting the links on Facebook and stuff like that if you want to be notified. There's the bell icon. Everybody knows this, or at least anybody that uses YouTube knows that. So we would
even if you don't
it.
like what you see, just subscribe anyway.
Yeah, because chances are there'll be other stuff that you don't want to see. So hey, rip us in the comments. We don't care. I mean, we
absolutely. Please,
good comments, bad comments, whatever comments you want to throw out there.
We can take constructive criticism. I'm sure we can do that. I like I said, we appreciate anybody that wants to throw out some topics that you want us to discuss and or ask us any questions. And hey, we're all for it. This is kind of a cool little fly by the seat of your pants kind of podcast. And we're just the 3 guys that just like to stay in touch and talk. So we figured why not get everybody else involved. So we really appreciate you guys taking a look and looking at our
if you do a crazy meme of us, you win a jar of mayonnaise.
Yep, and you'll have Fred will come over and dump it on your head,
like in the bowl game.
The Duke's Mayo
We should do a promo though. Get drunk with Fred. Who could drink 30 Bush lattes?
Yeah, only Fred, as far as I know.
So.
Well, and then in the fine print at the bottom it says excluding Kevin Mon.
Oh yeah.
Good point. Point well taken.
Good old Kevin. So,
all right, guys.
Awesome. Good to see you guys.
Have a good
Stop
night,
recording
guys.
And stay on for a minute.
Okay. Well, I have to end the meeting and then we can go back on.
Oh, okay.